assailant never said a word the entire time.
He had pushed her back onto the couch.
Who pushed her?
Number 2. He was pushing her back onto the couch. And she kept saying, "Where's my purse? Where's my purse?" Like, I kept telling her to sit down, and I didn't let my mommy get hurt.
How many times does she get up and get pushed back?
I'd say she got up.
Has number 2 uttered a word at this point in time? So we're just correcting what you said earlier, because you said earlier that it was number 2 who was asking where the purse is, what the purse is, and now you've said now it's number 1 guy who would initially... No. It's all a purpose. The purpose here is clarifying what you're saying. So number 1 is the one who's doing the talking about the purse. Number 3 is focused on your dad's wallet. Okay.
Jennifer continues to make contradictions and is forced to correct herself multiple times after she notices the puzzled gaze from the detective. He inquires over the appearance of assailant number 2, who is wearing a hoodie according to the first statement.
You get a good look at number 2 now of what he's wearing?
All I could tell was he had a vest, and his face was like a long oval face.
He had a vest?
No, hoodie.
Okay.
Dark hoodie.
Okay. Did you see them recover anything inside your mom and dad's room?
I did not see anything.
Are you sure? Because when we spoke the last time, there was some mention of some other money evidence.
I believe when they were looking for my father's wallet, they had looked in the drawer. And there was in an envelope.
What drawer would that have been?
Somewhere.
Look out, here I come!
In right here.
Who said it was?
More than likely a total coincidence, yet she almost appears to be praying when she gave the correct response. Fortunately for her, she was correct on this occasion.
And approximately how much did you?
I'm not sure how much I took out for trip. I cannot name.
I remember because at the time we were pretty active so I'm curious to know.
We were at the border and we stopped at the Jewish food when we were having relations with U.S. Korean.
So it was at that time you remember during 1100 years? And that's what was that the difference you're saying is that, because you're pretty solid. And then you see it. And you took possession.
The detective lets the contradiction slide once more. Jennifer is then brought to the moment where the intruders had just left and she was tied to the upstairs banister.
Let's come back to that and take a look at things from here. I'm going to try and ask you questions to try and clarify things. Don't remember, you don't remember. So don't apologize. The reason you apologize to me is you lied to me.
That was close. wasn't trying anyway.
You're showing me, can you stand up and turn around and tell me, just showing you how your hands are bent and how you are against the railing. You don't have to sit down, I just need to see how you work. The only reason that I need to do this is that I'm also going to ask you is that so take this back take it out of a traumatizing event, which it is, and put yourself into a more clinical position, because I want to see how you could physically get your phone out of your waistband. We're obviously going to need to know that. It's very important. So traumatize away. Now put yourself into just a state of, I need to mechanically show how I can get access to my phone. Okay, because that's obviously very relevant. We know you made the phone call, but questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against the railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator? Okay, so clinically, this is now a clinical demonstration. Just stand up, focus in on how you did it. And I want you to stick that in your waistband as an example. So take your, this will be a very smooth, very quick thing. It's a one-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it.
The two critical parts of this demonstration are where Jennifer states she was tied, and the movement of her arms as she takes her phone out of her pocket. The investigator is hoping the mechanics of the two components would be illogical and contradict each other.
I tied my upper arm
Yes?
around the banister,
Yes?
but my hands are bound together.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister? Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call?
Whether it be a stroke of luck or that Jennifer had prepared for this moment, this actually made sense. Had her arms gone left or the point of restraint been below the elbow, none of this would have been possible. It's perhaps the single moment where Jennifer's statement was somewhat beneficial to her defense. We know Jennifer was tied up when police arrived, but the assumption was that she had her phone in her hands the entire time and wouldn't have had to retrieve it from her waistband. She can now argue that this portion of her testimony is genuine.
911. And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear it?
I turned the volume on max.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing. Okay, that's good enough. Sit down.
Jennifer is then brought back to the moment just before she heard the gunshots.
At this point, I started hearing my parents get up. And they're moving. And my mom's yelling, "Where's my daughter? I want my daughter. Where's my daughter?" I'm yelling, "Mom, I'm here."
Take a minute.
You'll notice that she doesn't wipe her eyes or blow her nose, just buries her face in the tissue.
Look out,
Detective
here I
later
come!
testified to remain completely dry.
Okay. So we're now down in the basement. They're down in the your parents are down in the basement.
Multiple pops occur thereafter before she hears the intruders leave from the front door.
Upstairs, I can hear her moaning. Yes. When I heard the story, I tried to pull the phone out, try to call my mom.
This is untrue. She only realized her father was alive midway through the 911 call. And in that exact moment, you can actually hear genuine fear in her voice compared to the fabricated panic the moment before. The final part of this statement is collecting information to set up the main strategy for Jennifer's interrogation that will take place 10 days later. They go through Jennifer's past and gather intel to lay the foundation for what's known as the how and why solution, which will be explained in further detail at a later stage.
What I want to do now is go into the past. Okay? And start talking about things that you
The detective now morphs into a therapist, and what's fascinating is how Jennifer doesn't once question a new line of inquisition. Many argue that it was the first time Jennifer was even asked about such matters, giving reason for her willingness to open up. This may have been the first time in her life she was able to process her frustrations and vent to someone who appeared to care. The first topic is her parents, and the expectations and pressures she was under to succeed, which led to her faking her grades and then her college degree as to not be good.
How did you feel having the line with
I was guilty, but every time I tried to, there was just so much expectation.
Do you have any resentment towards any of this?
Actually, not actually. But in the end, I chose my family.
She just referred to the ultimatum she was given by her father, the choice to live at home and go back to school, or be completely cut off by her parents and live with her boyfriend. Information gathering on Jennifer's past goes on for roughly 2
I
hours
wasn't
and
trying
20
anyway.
minutes. The detective then ends the exchange by putting her under some pressure. It's not a direct confrontation, but it's by far the most uncomfortable position she's been in up to this point. The detective suddenly switches back to the home invasion and how the intruders were able to gain access without her.
You didn't hear a doorbell. You didn't hear a door knock. You didn't hear a door kicked in. You didn't.
I said I was watching
No,
TV on the phone.
but-
I don't know how.
Yeah, I know. We went over that back and forth. We don't know how.
I feel empowered. I feel like the Dimitri post-diagnosis loves every inch of himself. Ask your healthcare provider if Biktarvy is right for you, and visit Biktarvy.com to view the important facts, including important warnings.
¿Qué será de mí? Hoy lo pienso y creo, pero no me veo cerquita de ti. ¿Qué será mañana cuando no te tenga y me levante? En la madrugada tu cuerpo me falte y te extrañe tanto. Tu crudo reflejo queda como nudo en mi cabeza. Uno repentino, rojo como el vino, mientras más se agita. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca mi corazón. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca. Desayuno porque no me da. Vivir en Punta Cana hasta que no te la gana. Sentir tu pelo, besar tu cuello, amarte tanto, mi gran anhelo. Quiero que entiendas que el amor es uno. Un corazón sabe cuando es seguro. Este deseo me va a matar y yo quiero más. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca mi corazón. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca. Siento un amor por dentro que me va matando a fuego lento. Pienso que este sentimiento no se va a apagar, no. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca mi corazón. Hoy tengo ganas de ti, amor. Si la suerte toca, porque no me toca. Quiero decirte que aunque el sol se apague y el mundo gire en tu contra, que te amo. Recuerda que yo estaré siempre pendiente a ti. Yo no. Andy Falcón, Jay Simmons, another level. Tú sabes.
So somehow they got into your house by getting through your mom down on the lower level, right? Because she's the only one who's down there. So it's very confusing. Generally, random events are not, in most cases, random. There's a rhyme or reason why they've come to your house. But from what you've told me inside the house, the only thing that you hear them saying to you is they're looking for money. They're not looking for a specific quantity of money.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that you had no involvement in what happened, meaning not saying how the outcome came, but you had no involvement in any type of illegal activity that would have drawn you or the attention of you to have bad people come to your house looking for large sums of money. You're not involved in this any which way. Because the question obviously stands, Jennifer, is you're upstairs and they're downstairs, right? So it's a natural concern when, why would they leave you alone? Why would they not do the same to you? You can't answer that question?
The only thing I can say is that I cooperated.
Did
But I
you?
asked him to take me.
The number one guy said you cooperated. Okay, who's to say this whole thing isn't a lie? That what you're telling me is a lie? Because if you are lying, it's the most cold-blooded thing that I've ever faced in my life. There is nothing that you've said to me today is a lie. Now, back to another very difficult question. But if I don't ask it, I'm going to be, it's an obvious one. The resentment that you may have had towards your parents for the interference in your relationship and your life and essentially locking you down in your house.
At the end of the day, I love my parents and I chose to be with them. And if I wanted to, I could have just left, but I didn't. I wanted to stay with them and take care of them.
So this wasn't some evil plot that you thought up to?
Oh my God, no.
No interaction, no belief, no, you didn't have anything to do with this.